Hello learners, welcome to this program titled Style of Writing for Professional Courses. Distance education is used for teaching professional courses and IGNOU offers courses in medicine, nursing, management, psychology, teacher education, law and so on. In this program, we shall therefore focus on the writing style used for developing self-learning material for professional programs. We know that SLM writing involves a particular style, which is different from the style of writing for newspapers, academic journals, and even a textbook. The question therefore is, while the basic features of SLM remains the same, what special steps are taken for writing SLM for professional courses? I am Shutapa Bose. I teach at the School of Education, IGNOU. For teacher education courses, cases and scenario-based learning approach are used for developing SLM. We shall discuss the approaches used for SLM development for a few more professional courses. We have with us Professor Suhas Shidgovekar. She teaches psychology at the School of Social Sciences of IGNOU. We also have Professor Neeti Agarwal. She teaches management at the School of Management Studies of IGNOU. And we have with us Dr. Biplab Jamatia. He is a doctor and he also teaches medicine at School of Health Sciences in IGNOU. First of all, I would like to ask Dr. Biplab. Biplab, you know that we adopt a particular style while we write SLM. What is the style or what are the things that you would keep in mind while you develop self-learning material while teaching courses of medicine?
Thank you, Professor Sutapa, for these wonderful questions. Now we shall discuss about the learning style we adopt for the School of Health Sciences in IGNOU since last 20 years. Dear friends, as you already know that in the School of Health Sciences, we are mainly training doctors, nurses or allied health services. Here, the most important is the psychomotor skill. So, before writing any course material, first the designing component is very, very important. So, initially we try to find out what is the learning objective of the particular program. Then these learning objectives are again categorized into mandatory learning skill, optional learning skill and desirable learning skill. So, accordingly we put the things into the theory. Of course, we also develop the practical manual also for the same, but depending upon the learning objective, we give emphasis into the theory study material for the learner. In this context, the most important thing is we have a diverse kind of program, like we have a certificate level program which is after 12 years of education. We have a graduate or postgraduate level of program after passing MBBS. We have a program at the level of after MD, MS, like dialysis medicine program. We have a cardiology program, HIV medicine program, maternal child health program. So, various programs have a different target group as well as their level. So, here the most important part what we do is we try to simulate the normal situations of the learning places. Like in a medical college, student go through the cases. So, here in the course material, we try to give the case studies related to the day-to-day case they are going through. And after end of these sections or unit also, we put the same kind of question which is normally teachers are asking at the end of the word round or at the end of the patient round or grant round. The same way, we also try to simulate some kind of seminar, and the practice for this and for the practical skills, we also adopt logbooks, checklist manual as well as practical manuals. In this context, it is important to mention that the logbook, where do they practice, that is again vary, because logbook practiced, the style of the logbook practiced in a medical college is certainly different, and the logbook which they are going to practice in a district level hospital or under supervisions of somebody or self-practice is entirely different. Because we also need to give this part emphasis that throughout learning objective, student need to learn the particular skill not only in a medical college setup but in a resource constrained situation like district hospitals or in a primary care setup. India is a very diverse country where the difference from the east to west as well as north to south is very much obvious. So to cater the diverse culture, we also encourage our course writer to put a name, different kind of name particularly which is observed in a different geographical area for the patient name or name of the doctor, so that we can address the entire country, and that should be the addressing their issues. Here one more important is the quality assurance of the study material. We involve only those those resource persons as a course writer with a appropriate training so that they can simulate the same kind of hospital situations for the learner. For example, if we do the checklist manual, then the checklist manual for measuring the blood pressures will be different than the checklist manual for the doing the hemodialysis will be certainly different for a postdoctoral level. And in this context, we trained the course writers, we trained the editor, and at the end we also the program coordinator himself also go through the entire study material so that the quality of the study material can be maintained. And this is much more important to mention that this quality of the study material or whatever study material we are prepared, that is linked with the learning objective to the study material, as well as the same study material is linked with the assessment, so that we can ensure that our objective is achieved through the learning material whatever we are providing to them. I hope I have addressed your questions. Thank you very much.
Professor Suhas, I would now like to ask you, Biplab has said that there are certain things that he would definitely consider while developing SLM for courses of medicine. Similarly, you might also be using a particular style while preparing SLM for courses that you develop for teaching psychology. Please elaborate. What kind of style is it?
Thank you very much, Professor Suttappa, for having me here today and also for your question. When we talk about SLM in psychology, we have to understand what is psychology. Psychology is a study of human and animal behavior, and with the very definition you can understand the scope of this subject is very vast, it is very large. So on one hand, you could have a subject or a course that is completely theoretical in nature. On the other hand, you can have a subject, something like managing stress, which is completely skill based. You can also have subjects like statistics, where you learn about various statistical techniques, or a course which is based on research. So you understand, there is a vast range of courses that are covered as far as psychology is concerned. Also at IGNOU, we offer psychology programs at different levels. There are programs at postgraduate level, at undergraduate level, and so on. So necessarily when an SLM is prepared, we have to also keep in mind the difficulty level, whether we are writing it for postgraduate level learners or for graduate learner level. We definitely have to keep all this in mind. Now, as SLM is basically, you can say, when it comes to distance education, we have to prepare it in such a way that you are interacting with the learners or the students. So it is very important that you start it in such a way that it evokes interest in the learner. And this is what we also follow when we take a classroom lecture. So you're going to throw a question at the learners, and then they kind of ponder on it, and some kind of a brainstorming takes place. So something similar also needs to be incorporated in SLM. Now, as far as psychology is concerned, given the wide range of courses that we have, from skill based to theory based and so on, our application oriented courses. So given that, depending on the objective of the course, the learning objective of the course, you can accordingly have the initiation of the SLM, or the way you start with SLM. So I would like to give some example. There is one topic called transactional analysis, which you can say it is a theory, or it is a therapy also. So this was developed by Eric Berne, and in this there is one kind of a quote which says that children are born prince and princesses, parents kiss them and turn them into frogs. Now, when I was writing this unit on transactional analysis, I started with this quote. Now, can you imagine? Definitely, it is going to evoke some interest, and then I went on to explain the quote, and then of course what the theory and what the transactional analysis was about. In a similar manner, when I was writing a unit on managing stress and was dealing with positive attitude as one of the techniques for stress management, I started with an exercise which the learner had to do. So I asked them to first of all kind of rank their present state, as like from 1 to 10. So 1 was unpleasant and 10 was pleasant. After they did that ranking, whatever that they marked, later on they had to read some questions like, I have been very helpful, what are the ways in which I have helped people, what are my achievements, who are my support system, like that positive or rather questions that evoke positive thoughts. And after this 10 questions, I asked the students again with the scale from 1 to 10, from unpleasant to pleasant, they had to mark. So most of the time when this exercise is carried out, you can notice that when you have positive attitude or positive thought, then the present state of mind will be pleasant, or it will improve. So this kind of exercises can be incorporated. There are numerous researches that have been carried out in psychology. So when we talk about units, when we write units on research, qualitative or quantitative research, so we start with some real life research. Explaining that research, which then again can evoke the interest in the learners to read the unit further. And another example, you could start with examples also, giving situations and so on. So these are the ways in which you can start a particular unit so as to evoke certain, or to initiate some kind of a thinking in the learner, and the learner also feels interested in learning further or reading the unit further. Later on, it is also important to maintain the attention of the learner, definitely, because you are learning something, and then even when you are listening to a lecture, your attention is going to get diverted. So when a student is kind of reading the unit, at that point of time also, it is very important to maintain the attention and keep the interest of the learner. So for that, again, depending on the the nature of the subject, there could be various exercises, case studies that Professor Neeti spoke about. These case studies also are included, because in psychology we have courses like human resource management, human resource development, organizational behavior and so on, where various case studies can be given, where the learner has scope to refer to various books and even this SLM, and then kind of give responses to the case studies. So these as well are important. In courses that are related to statistics, of course, we give them a lot of sums that are there, and even the procedure that is like required to carry out the sum, the formula, everything is done in a systematic manner. All this, of course, is an important part of SLM, but then in psychology we also provide some references and links. Like for example, if you are discussing about something like ethical issues in psychological research, now you are going to explain about ethical issues, but then you could also give a reference to the American Psychological Association ethics. Okay, so the whole ethics that was suggested by American Psychological Association cannot be put in your unit, because you are just going to give a brief description. So a link of where these ethics are available can be given, so that the learner feels encouraged and need to go and refer to that link. In a similar manner, links can also be given for various videos. Links can also be given like, in statistics, for example, we have to give, the students have to refer to certain values, table values. So normally these table values are either available in textbooks or they are also available online in terms of, if these are open e-resources, then, you can provide links for those table values, or you can provide the references for those table values as well. So this overall is going to make the whole process of reading the unit very interesting, or you're reading the SLM, very interesting. Lastly, I would also like to add, Professor Suttappa, that in psychology we also have very relevant courses that are based on internship, project and practicum. So when we write units, again, these units are written in a different manner, where the focus is on how the learner is going to get good hands-on practice. So we not only provide with procedure, how to carry out these practicals, but also how, what actually the learner has to do to carry out, and what material he or she will require. So again, when it comes to these subjects, because these are like based on, you can say, to provide learner with hands-on practice, the other theoretical courses will give a proper, you can say, orientation towards the basic concepts and so on. And as far as this courses like internship, project and practicum are concerned, they are going to give some hands-on experience to the learner, and then these also are to be prepared in such a way that they not only cover the relevant theoretical concepts, but also provides them procedure and evaluation related details and what exactly has to be done. So this is what I wanted to discuss, Professor Suttappa, in the context of your question. Thank you so much.
Professor Neeti, we have heard what Biplab had to say, what Suhas had to say, for the style of writing that they adopt for the courses of their respective professions. Since you teach management, we would like to know the style that you adopt while writing SLM for courses that you intend to develop for teaching management.
Professor Suttappa, today we would be discussing the aspects which needs to be covered in the management program in developing the SLM for management programs, because in distance education we need lot of commitment that you must also be knowing, because you're from the field of education, so you must be knowing that there are lot of issues related to the SLMs. So when we talk about the management programs per se, because when we talk about the management education, it is basically the peer interaction, it is the interaction with the academia, it is the interaction with the industry. So there are many aspects which needs to be covered. So it becomes quite challenging to develop the SLMs for them. So therefore, I'll be talking a bit about the problem-based learning approach, which we have tried to incorporate in our self-learning material also, or we will be trying to incorporate more of it in the future for developing the new course materials which we are onto it now. So when we talk about problem-based learning, usually it started with the concept of computers and vocational education, but now recently a book was published by Phillips and Bridges by Springer, and it talked about the approach to problem-based learning in management education per se, specifically for management education. Basically, this particular concept is related to peer interaction. Now the problem is, the challenge is how we develop this peer interaction in our self-learning material. So we have tried to incorporate the case studies or the case situation, where we pose a situation, we pose a kind of a problem for the students, where the students, when they go to the study centers, they meet, they try to discuss that problem through the counselors. So this is inbuilt in the self-instruction material. So that is why when we talk about problem-based learning, it is based on three-tier approach. It is the traditional concept, it has case study method, and then it is creating the problem where the solution has to be developed. So solution can be of different kinds. One party or one group may discuss the case study in one approach, the other group may discuss the case study in another approach. So there can be many solutions to one problem. So that is what develops a kind of analytical ability for the students. So when they solve the case through the review concept or through the contextual concept of a particular subject area, they develop the cases and they try to solve the problems accordingly. So therefore it becomes very important for the students of management program to understand the context, the situation, and how to solve the problem. This is where the problem learning approach, which we call as PBL, and it is becoming quite popular in the conventional system, and in the self-learning material, coincidentally in IGNOU we have been using the case studies for quite long, but now incorporating the solutions, the probable solutions for those case studies, and inculcating a habit for the students to develop an analytical ability for those particular concepts is very important. So understanding the theoretical concept is very fine, but then what happens is you need to discuss the practical approaches also, because in management education we need practical approaches also. Looking at the present complex situation, the business arena, the market structures, everything is going haywire. So it is becoming more of digitized in nature. So therefore this kind of approach, if we develop in self-learning material, it becomes all the more important for the students to develop a habit of trying to find solutions for the problems which may arise or which may not arise. So that is what is the problem-based learning. So this is the particular concept which we have been using for long. Now it can be modified more to the level of the students and how they try to develop the abilities to solve the problems. So I think when we develop the course materials or the self-learning materials or the instructional material, we need to inculcate this habit of the students to try to find the solutions to the problems related to the theoretical concepts.
Thank you, learners. We have come to the end of this program, and I am sure that this program is going to help you in developing self-learning material for professional courses.